The government of Ontario hands a cool $150,000 in tax money to a radical Muslim group that brings in hate preachers. Dalton McGuinty, tonight on The Source. The government of Ontario has given a $150,000 grant to a group called the North American Muslim Foundation. The grant from the Trillium Foundation, that's bankrolled by Ontario taxpayers, was officially earmarked to renovate a gymnasium, which sounds fine, but there's just one problem with that. The North American Muslim Foundation is a platform for extremism, including anti-Semitism and even justification for terrorist attacks. Here's a picture of smiling Liberal politicians handing out the big old check just in time for Ontario's election this October. That's Liberal Cabinet Minister Michael Chan at the left. On the right are Liberal MPPs Jerry Phillips and Bas Balkasoon. Hey, 150 grand is a lot of money. It takes a lot of Liberals to carry it all. That's why they needed 3 of them. Now, governments at every level pee away our tax dollars all the time. It's not just Ontario, and it's certainly not just the Liberals. Dalton McGuinty is in trouble. He's behind in the polls. And if $150,000 to renovate some guy's gym gets him a few hundred more votes, well, that could tip the balance in a close riding, right? The North American Muslim Foundation, I'm going to call it NAMF for short, says the gym's going to be renovated in a culturally sensitive way. What's that? We asked both NAMF and the Grounding Foundation what that meant. Did it mean keeping compliant with Sharia law and enforcing gender apartheid, so there would be one gym area for women and one for men, or maybe a mixed area, but women had to wear burqas there? What's a culturally sensitive gym look like in the 21st century as opposed to, say, the 8th century? Now, does that sound crazy? Well, remember that NAMF is one of the backers of the Mosqueteria. That's the Valley Park Middle School. It's a public school whose cafeteria has been turned into a makeshift mosque every week, and an outside imam comes in to lead prayers. And as we've talked about on the show before, boys are separated from girls, and girls who have their period have to tell the imam, and they're put in a third group. That's just gross. Is that what a culturally sensitive gym looks like? One area for boys, one area for girls, and one area where girls who have their periods have to go? If the government of Ontario happily funds the Valley Park Middle School, where mosque and state are blended, why would they be against funding a gender apartheid gym too? Now, we never did hear back from NAMF, but we talked to the government Trillium Foundation, and they confirmed that culturally sensitive could, in fact, mean gender segregation, gender apartheid. They've got no problem with that. But perhaps a sense of what culturally diverse, culturally appropriate really means can be divined from NAMF's other community programs. They just finished a lecture series, for example, with a series of honored guests. Here's their poster advertising those lectures. And as you can see, it's free admission, so NAMF subsidizes these speeches, and the Ontario government, your tax dollars, subsidizes NAMF. Now, among the NAMF speakers are Abdullah Hakim Quick. What's culturally sensitive to him? Well, here's what he says about gays. They said, "What's the Islamic position on homosexuality?" And I told them, "Put my name in the paper, the punishment is death, and I'm not going to change this religion." Oh ho! And Jews, gays, and kafirs, that's a dirty word for unbelievers, he says they're, quote, filth. Imam Quick, by the way, has served as a special advisor to the Toronto Board of Education. That's just nice, isn't it? Another NAMF speaker is Arafat Al-Ashi, the former head of the Muslim World League in Canada. Now, the Muslim World League is a major Saudi-financed, Saudi-run Muslim evangelical group. He's an anti-Semite too, which won't surprise you given his Saudi funding. He thinks Jews are so awful, they're all racist, even in the afterlife. Even once they're dead, they're still racist, according to this guy. I won't even try to explain it. Perhaps I should have gone to Al-Ashi's lecture to learn how Jews are even evil after they've been killed. But my favorite nut bar is NAMF's special guest speaker, Mohammed El-Masri. You might remember him as the censor who complained to those 3 human rights commissions across Canada to try to punish Maclean's magazine for publishing Mark Stein's criticisms about radical Islam. But more importantly, El-Masri is so bigoted, so unrepentant in his hate for Jews, that he actually went on TV and said that terrorist attacks against any Israelis 18 years or higher are legitimate. Here's a clip of al-Masri saying that. You'll recognize the TV interviewer as our friend Michael Coren from a show he had on a different channel beforehand. Look at this.
It has to be totally innocent, okay? Totally innocent are the children, obviously,
yeah.
Okay? But they are not innocent if they are military in civilian clothes, okay?
What about women?
The same. If they are women in the army,
anyone over the age of 18 in Israel is a valid target.
Anybody above 18 is a part of the Israeli popular army.
Everyone in Israel and anyone and everyone in Israel, irrespective of gender, over the age of 18 is a valid target.
Yes.
That's NAMF for you, folks. Let's recap. We've got the McGuinty government in Ontario on the eve of a provincial election in which they're running behind in the polls, handing out tens of thousands, $150,000 to an extremist group that promotes hate preachers who condemn Jews, condemn gays, condemn any non-Muslims, actually, and excuse terrorist murder attacks. That $150,000 is reportedly for gym renovations, but they won't actually answer our questions about what a culturally sensitive gym means, if it's code for gender apartheid, burqa-friendly gyms. The government says that's fine by them. Now, who knows? We'll let you know if we actually ever get an answer from NAMF themselves about their plans for the gym, but we do know the kind of things they already think are culturally sensitive about gays, Jews, Christians, Israelis, anyone not like them. How did we hear about this scandal? Tell you one thing, wasn't from the mainstream media, the consensus media, the media party. Those guys love liberals like Dalton McGuinty. They love government grants for stupid things. And although the media party pretends to care about gays and women's equality, they shut up pretty quickly about those subjects when it's a fundamentalist Muslim who's calling for their deaths. We heard about this story on a blog, of course, one of my favorite blogs called Blazing Cat Fur. What, did you think that the CBC would cover this story? It has 0% Jack Layton content, so of course they don't carry this story. This story is about wasteful government grants, so of course the CBC wouldn't question that. It's about political correctness. How dare you challenge haters if they're racial or religious minorities? I mean, the CBC just won't do that. Now, will taxpayers ever get our $150,000 back? I think that's an important question that the Liberal Party should answer, but there's a bigger question than $150,000. It's this: where are the true liberals? Where are those calling for a separation of mosque and state? Where are the secular humanists who rail against anything Catholic or Christian? Why are they all silent? Where's the gay pride political army? Where are the feminists? Where are the gay feminists? Why are liberals so damn silent as Canada slips slowly into Sharia law with our government's support, and hate preachers like NAMF's friends become normalized? We're looking for the answers here at the Sun News Network. The consensus media, well, they won't even ask the questions.